Oh, on the decks. Oh, oh no. Oh dear. That's the worst though, when you're playing in shitcoin town and you forget to set your slippage back after you go back, and then you just get el sandwicho. Oh Jesus. Jesus. Okay. Let's have a PSA about that when we go. Oh, actually we are live. Oh, we're live. All right, let's push it.
If you're sitting here watching this stream today, you cannot underestimate how ahead of the curve you are right now.
Bitcoin looks tired. All coins look hungry.
I'm just not quite sure that Bitcoin has any more sauce.
I still think this thing is really worth a lot more than it is.
This stuff's spooky, man. These chaos PRZs are intense.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Solana is highly performant and has the team with the experience to support it.
$4,800 Ethereum. That's a big, big move here.
Whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. Hello, governor.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to set what you guys hear in the rendezvous. Good afternoon. We're live, anyways, and I set it to live.
This is major fun.
There you go. No, you're good now.
Okay.
All right, guys, welcome back to DeltaFi. That's RT playing with the audio to throw everybody off.
DJ RT.
DJ RT with the hot echo. Welcome back, guys. This is a special show today. It's going to have a special place in our hearts for the long haul because today is our big send-off for Crypto Messiah off into fatherhood.
Not forever.
Not forever, but it's a big
further into fatherhood.
Forever into fatherhood. This is your last show as a true DJ. I think something changes as somebody who just became a father last year. It does change you a little bit. We never know what we're
cash right now. My portfolio's got to be in cash.
I don't know.
Gambling. I've got a family to take care of. I can't gamble this money anymore.
We may not.
What if that actually happened to Messi, where suddenly his aversion to risk just went?
I become Mr. Risk Management.
Yeah. That's all you talk. You talk about like Markowitz, like modern portfolio.
Oh my God.
You may not come in here flying in like the anus shredder. Like it. I expect
we're still going to be shredding some anus, but it's like
some degree of change. So he's going to take a little break after this week. So this is a special show for me and us. And so, anyways, we're going to get started here. Ethereum pushing up into resistance. Could it break through? We'll find out. I'm going to set up the chart view while you guys get into it.
Yeah.
Messi, why don't you tell us about that gigantic sandwich you just viewed?
Yeah. So just quick public service announcement to our viewers here. We've always looked out for you guys when it comes to operating on chain. The best safety practices, everything like that. And I'm sure we've talked about the sandwich attack many times. So before we talk about this, I just want to briefly go over what a sandwich is. So on an AMM, what happens is when you actually hit that buy button, right, you're broadcasting that intention to the mempool on Ethereum. So the problem is that the mempool is a public place. Anybody can view what's going on there. And if you don't have your slippage settings right, what a bad actor will do in the MEV bot, they'll recognize your transaction. Oh my God, this guy's trying to buy $100,000 of this. And what they'll actually do is say, okay, well, his slippage says that this transaction will still go through as at 15% slippage, at 20% slippage. So what they do is they front run your buy. So, okay, you're going to buy 100,000, but they're going to slam it with, as much money as your slippage will tolerate and still allow you to execute that transaction. So they buy, $500,000 worth of something. Then your $100,000 order goes through, and immediately after, they're selling for $520,000. So they're just taking that $20,000 right out of your pocket. And that's why it's called a sandwich attack, because they front run your orders in the middle. You're the meat, right? And then they dump on you afterwards. So I just saw a monster sandwich happen. It was actually on XMON Ethereum. If you guys go to Deck Screener, you can pull it up. What happened is, somebody wasn't paying attention, had their slippage settings fucked up, whatever. And somebody bought $1.2 million of XMON. And then afterwards, you see this guy's just trying to buy $168,000 worth. You see that go through, and then you see, bam, He's get the top of the sandwich, dropped right on his head. He lost $40,000 in one transaction just because he was being careless. So do not let that happen to you. A few recommendations. One, before you're executing a transaction, especially if you've been operating in a degenerate environment, because we all know sometimes when there's a lot of FOMO, you got to up that slippage just a little bit. So if you've been like aping coins with attacks or anything that requires you to elevate your slippage, before you're trading, you make sure that slippage is set to a low setting. I always set mine to 0.1%. And even if the transaction's reverted, it's much, much better than losing $40,000 in one pop. Another thing you can do is there's something called CalSwap, okay? And it's made by the Gnosis team, Gnosis. If you've heard of the Gnosis safes, it's a very popular multi-sig solution on Ethereum. These are the same guys that made that. It's a really knowledgeable, really trusted, really respected team.
Is this the
and
one?
on CalSwap, it gives you this sandwich MEV protection. That's it. So hit trade on CalSwap on the top. It'll give you that sandwich MEV protection without you even having to fucking worry about it or do anything. They're just going to give you the best price. And another cool thing about that, it's gasless trading. So if I submit an order, what they actually do, and you can see this right here, fees, okay? They're actually charging, for this example, one wrapped Ethereum to USDC, they're actually taking $11 for that trade. And they're taking it from the USDC. So you don't pay any gas on that. So it's also a great way to say, and I'm sure you guys have been in this position, shit, I accidentally sold all my Ethereum and now I have no gas. Like, hey, bro, can you send me a little gas? Hey, bro, can you send me a little gas? It's a really good way to kind of bail yourself out of that situation. But most importantly, it's a great way to not get sandwiched. And the cool thing about CalSwap, it is an aggregator. So, people always say, hey, and I still get this question, where do you get the best prices on this? Where do you get the best prices on that? You don't have to worry about that shit anymore, okay? You go to CalSwap and they will literally check every single aggregator and try to find you the best rates everywhere. There's like 10 AMMs now. There's 10 different, on-chain exchanges. You don't have time, to be in checking every one. So let these guys do all the work for you, okay? Don't get sandwiched. Don't get fucked. Really sad situation. Pour one out for Mr. $40,000 loss in one trade.
No kidding, dude. He wanted to buy, they wanted to buy at 43,000. And they ended up buying at 53,000.
So what's the name? What's the token he was aping?
It's XMON.
Yeah,
XMON.
It's like an X-Man Pokemon combo. Anyways, this chart looks good, and I'm a little bitter, not because I don't have any. Yes, because I don't have any.
Did he put in the fake breakout retest? Is this your retest now of the sandwich attack that you want to buy?
Yeah, this is. Man, I saw this coil the other day and didn't buy. It was like 32K. I was like, and literally overnight it was like 47%. So that's my renewed assault on XMON. But mostly I'm just happy because I know you're balls long on this thing, and I love seeing you make great calls and play them and then them working out.
It works out.
It's still low value, right? If it's going to be the Uniswap of NFTs, at 97 market cap, 388 FDV, I feel like I can find a room to get in.
Well, basically, and here's something, that people kind of, I feel like, do incorrectly. I love looking at established protocols from a PE perspective. That's something you can do in DeFi. And I think the proof is in the pudding. When you look at something like GMX, it's very, very obvious when you look at the historical PE ratios that the kinds of people that are buying this are looking at that. Okay. So for something that's established, something that already has liquidity, customer base, revenue, like all of that, PE can be a fantastic tool. Okay. But for something like XMON, it's a totally different kind of asset. Okay. It's a hyper growth asset. And it's very similar, I think, to kind of what Spell was like a long time ago. You guys remember back in, when was that? September, October, when Spell just went crazy, but really nothing else in DeFi was moving. You couldn't really value Spell with a PE or whatever. It was just hyper growth. And those green candles incited a lot of FOMO. Of course, Danny had a really big personality. He brought a lot of people into the fold as well. So with something like XMON, the speculation is that there's going to be a token swap to Sudo. XMON was originally a generative art project. It generated all these monsters, using AI on chain. And the developer, XMON, ended up going on to create this AMM for NFTs. So right now, from a PE perspective, it's probably running a little high. Although every single day, the user numbers are growing, the metrics are growing, more people are finding out about this. And that's why with something like this, my advice, the best thing to do is to actually look at the underlying fundamentals. You can go to DeFi Llama. You want to look at that TVL. Is the TVL still in this growth phase? You want to go to Dune Analytics, which is a very powerful tool as well. If you type in sudo AMM, there's all sorts of dashboards, and you want to watch that growth. When you see signs that growth has finished, when this product has come out of this hyper growth phase, that's really when you want to start thinking about maybe this is done going up for a little bit. I don't see any signs of that right now. So I'm still strapped.
And the legend grows. I mean, I'm seeing the discussion pick up and spread out, and then of course you go back to value in comps like Uniswap and all these things, and the sky's the limit. I think it feels early, and I still haven't found an entry, even though obviously I'm not trying that hard because I looked at it the other night and just didn't buy. I think even it's stupid, but I have a hard time getting my head around the unit bias right now, even though I know that that's stupid.
The unit bias is kind of hard to wrap your head around, and this has actually kicked off a massive debate all around Twitter. We even had Kobe on Twitter a few days ago, to the disappointment of many longtime NFT community members, saying NFTs are just altcoins with pretty pictures attached to them, and that got everybody furious. Of course, no, they're not, bro. They're new and special. And they're new, special, blah blah blah. And look, that is true for a lot of them. Let's not discount the technology, because you can do a lot of really cool things with NFTs that you can't actually do with normal fungible tokens. But the harsh reality of the situation is most NFTs are fungible, okay? They're not non-fungible. And what kind of models work best for non-fungible assets? Exchanges, AMMs, central limit order books, things like that. I mean, these are tried and tested technologies that have been used on on fungible assets for, decades. And the reason they are is because it's the most efficient way to trade them. The market is the most efficient means of price discovery in the world. So I can see a future, and we're not there yet, okay? It's going to take a little time, but I can see a future to where the non-fungible side of NFTs, and we're talking about things like market passes, where every single item in the collection is a floor, right? We're talking about the floors, the comments of any 10K profile pic NFT collection. Things like that end up in AMMs. That doesn't mean OpenSea is irrelevant or OpenSea is going out of business, because a lot of people are very angry, that OpenSea is some people are saying it's irrelevant, but it's not. OpenSea, that model works really well for the non-fungible side of NFTs, something to where there's no way, there's not enough supply for it to market to efficiently price the assets. So you have to move to this kind of auction model where, you have, it's really just, hey, I will sell it for this, and, I'll buy it for this. Like, will you please accept my offer? Like, that's still going to be a thing. And of course, this grew really fast too. So it's still in this growing pains phase where you see issues with the user interface. You see lag, you see things like this. But the underlying technology, the contracts work very well. So, we're going to get over these growing pains, and we're going to see what happens. No official word yet on the actual XMON token being swapped for Sudo, but that's just kind of what's going around the rumor mill right now. How about that?
Is it the same entity?
Yes, the developer who made these XMONs monsters, okay, he's the one that went on to develop with some other guys that have been in the space for a while, an AMM for NFTs.
Yep, gotcha.
I still like 3132. I'm putting in a cope resistance here for myself, although it does seem like that's what smacked it down. Some nice selling coming in. So, can we get a range here? Can I get an entry? Can I get 31, 32, 33? I'd love
to have this thing go sideways for a bit. And, I think that would be healthy. I think it needs to. It's gone up a lot really fast. But at the same time, this isn't just a pump and dump. It's a fundamental driven rally. You see the underlying fundamentals of Sudoswap go crazy. And you're starting to see VCs talk about it. You know, Delphi has released reports. DCG has been talking about it. It's gotten on people's radars. So I don't think we're in a situation where this goes back to lows ever. You know, assuming that the rumors are true and this ends up being swapped. And I think that the market, you know, speaks more truth than we all know right now. I mean, there's got to be some people that know, right? And so the market is pricing that in efficiently, in my opinion.
Well, I'll tell you what's happening right now. I can guarantee you there are people out there rushing to develop a copycat or something similar, maybe an improvement on, you know, I think this thing is hot enough and it's made enough noise right now, and it's innovative enough that it's going to have its own little echo season, you know, almost in that sort of like Ohm fork sense where we will see some of that. Yeah, cross chains. It'll be the Sudoswap of, you know.
Pseudo rare,
yeah, I want
which is pseudo AMM with looks rare, you know, reflexive token economics. You know, that's something, and we don't know, though. That's the thing. Like the guys that made, you know, Sudoswap, they're guys that have been in the space a long time, have built up a lot of trust, have put their character on the stage, you know, for judgment already, right? Be very careful with these copycats and stuff, especially the ones like Pseudo Rare, which is, look, Sudoswap with looks rare token economics, like that sounds fucking wicked, right? It really does. But at the same time, they're asking you to stake your XMON on their site, and we don't know who the fuck they are. You know, we don't know what their intentions are. So that can actually put yourself in a really dangerous situation, even if they're offering you 1,000% APR or whatever. Because at the end of the day, these guys could just, you know, take your fucking XMON.
Well, that's the other piece.
Peace out, thanks, bro.
Yeah, that's the other thing. When you get this kind of heat anytime around an asset, the scammers, they're circling, right? The fraudsters come in, they say, hey, how can we get XMON in our pocket? So that actually sounds very honeypot-like, but who knows? So anyways, but to Dan's point, Gunny, like, yes, absolutely, I like that. In fact, you know, it wasn't Ohm. I didn't even touch Ohm. I didn't look at Ohm. It was the fork of, the iteration of in Wonderland on AVAX that was the, you know, the harbinger for last year's big bull season in the end of the year. So, yeah, I'm all eyes on some of this Echo stuff, but I still want some XMON. I do want to get a little bit of this.
I think that idea of like liquidity for like non-fungible tokens and like 10,000 unit mints, the idea that there is liquidity and can be like this idea of AMM style liquidity, almost commoditized for the bottom floor pieces, it makes sense, like to create real liquidity throughout the set. I like it. I mean, it seems like a fucking natural progression. And I think the one thing that NFTs are going to prove to us, and I kind of have, is they're here to stay in many different forms and ways. And it's almost seems easier for NFT volume and transactional volume to stay hot and grow even than other spot altcoin token stuff. So, I mean,
I saw a mention yesterday of Parallel Life, which is that card kind of like Magic the Gathering kind of vibe, with some of the Blizzard artists and stuff. Anyways, it's a dope NFT project. I bought a bunch last year. I have a set. And somebody on Twitter yesterday was talking about how that's a great use case for something like Sudoswap, because you have these sets of 1,500 of the exact same cards. And you go on OpenSea and there might be 3 or 4 bids and the slippage is insane and the spread is ridiculous. But if you gave somebody an AMM and then market makers could come in and buy 500 cards and just make the spreads, like, it seems like a natural progression. So is it Sudoswap? For now it is. Who else is going to come along and iterate and develop? And it's almost like this cat's out of the bag, this brand new product. And we're going to see, you know, who's going to race to become that de facto Uniswap. Right now, Sudo's got everything going for it.
You know, the really interesting thing, though, is DeFi Summer was really instigated by Uniswap. Without Uniswap, nothing else in DeFi works. It is the base layer of DeFi. You know, it allowed lending protocols to, you know, offer over-collateralized lending because there was always liquidity available for liquidations to occur and things like that. So if you guys follow Meltem, I think her Twitter is @meltdem on Twitter. She had a really good thread about NFT AMMs maybe 4 or 5 days ago, maybe a week ago, I'm not sure, and how it improves the market microstructure, for NFTs, and how it's going to enable, all sorts of different things to happen within the NFT ecosystem. So it's really important to look at something like this. Not only is something fun to do right now because it's kind of in its shitcoin early Uniswap, days phase. Like we're trading shitcoins on it, right? Which is fun. It's a lot like early DeFi summer. But when this technology matures a little bit more, you're going to see things that you never thought were possible built because of it, built on top of it. You're going to see funds being able to actually invest in the NFT space because that liquidity is there. So interesting times ahead.
What was that, Gunny?
It's certainly what you hope for. You've seen this cycle. You've seen this cycle since Bitcoin started in 2010, whatever, you went from that to colored coins and it was just like absolute casino. And it seems like in the crypto sphere that everything starts with like a speculative casino. And then out of that evolves experimentation, and out of that evolves things that have product fit.
Useful things,
yeah, that you grow from there. It's kind of like the same story, just recycled over and over again, which is good. Which is like it makes it a little bit more predictable. You can't. I mean, not all things are. What's the saying? Past performance never indicative of future results. But it like watching Messi get involved with Sudo and things like that early. It was the same kind of like vibrant excitement and experimentation. When Spell came out, when Spell Time Wonderland came out, and when Uniswap came out before that, and it just
really when AXS took off, right, with GameFi.
Yeah,
but
I never really got into GameFi too much. I feel like I kind of missed that.
No, but I mean, I feel like it was around this time last year actually that it was kind of like that August, September, October that Axie ran, and I remember on the show, Gunny, you and I talking about how. Well, we had missed this, but we weren't too worried because it was going to spawn a whole new wave and there'd be 200, 500 GameFis. And that's what we've seen. And now it's a complete washout and a complete sort of, I guess you could say like liquidity just gets spread out. Same way with the Ohm forks. And we'll see how it all, who rises from the ashes. The thing that sucks, and we were talking about this the other day actually on a call, the GameFi, like everything GameFi for the most part is built on this Axie Infinity model. And now it's pretty much collapsed. And so then it's like, well, nothing else has any reason to move. And you're just wondering, we're looking through our portfolio, we're like, God damn, does every single thing in here just use this model? I don't think that's the case. There are some iterating on it, but it's something to pay attention to. If you are long some idea based on some centerpiece, like for example, Sudoswap, you better hope that idea plays out for Sudo because everything that's built on that echo, and that's the same with Ohm, right? When Ohm started to go down, everything built around it was like, oh wait, 3-3 is a meme, not everyone's gonna hold, and the whole thing fell apart like a house of cards. So just being aware of that kind of stuff, so you know that you're playing around in high beta stuff it's all built around one, what do you call that, the keystone of a bridge, right? You pull the one stone and the whole thing. So
yeah, it's the sweater string.
Yeah, the sweater string unravels quickly around here. But let's take a look at some of the majors. Let's wind back here. What are you guys seeing? What's the latest with the merge? I know there's a lot of drama coming around with censorship and nodes and validators. What are you guys seeing?
I think it's going to get even more hot and heavy. I mean, we know it's going to come, but some of the arguments are like getting into like real. I think we're moving forward in the space, but it's not easy. The decisions are not easy. You saw Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. Some big guy posed a question for some of the biggest Ethereum stakers. What are you going to do if they make you shut down for X or Y, and kind of stemming from this like either OFAC or Tornado Cash and different things with staking. And there are some tough decisions for business owners and miners and validators and a lot of people to make here. And I think that kind of like peak like fear about, holy shit, this could end up being a big negative for Ethereum. The merge, like, to me, hit a little bit yesterday, and the market came off, but Bitcoin was also weak yesterday. But I think we're going to see both bullish, bearish, like tons of calls and narratives coming. Like Arthur Hayes to me is a little more boisterous than usual on his Ethereum like long meme here. And like there's people that are making calls, but it's not going to all be rosy. I think we're going to see like continued chop and volatility with eventually like probably a move up into it.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there is real reason to be concerned around the censorship at protocol level for Ethereum. That, you know, there are, I think Flashbots has already signaled saying like, yes, we are going to censor these transactions, and they're a major relay or RPC validator, whatever the word is. And so this isn't just sort of baseless FUD. It's a conversation, and it's a big evolution point for Ethereum with the shift to POS. And so the idea is like, well, if Coinbase is forced to censor things, they legally have to comply. Will they then choose to instead just wind down their staking operation and back off so they don't fuck up the ethos of Ethereum? And there's some saying they will. There's some saying, hell no, I don't trust Coinbase. They would never do that. They're about the money. They have shareholders. It's a big debate.
Vitalik, I believe, said, and there's a lot of, you know, people with large stake in Ethereum that have said, if you are going to, you know, Ethereum's supposed to be a neutral transaction settlement layer, okay? And they have said that if you are going to, you know, be a validator that participates in censorship of this layer, then there are ways for us to slash your stake. So there is a lot on the line here because, you know, we're talking, let's say somebody like Coinbase does say, you know, because they're trying to be, you know, they're over, you know, conforming almost, you know, because nobody wants to go to jail over this shit, right? No one. It's not worth it. So guys like that are going to say, yes, you know, Uncle Sam, you know, yes, whoever, we will comply, you know, we will censor, we will do this. And Ethereum, a global technology, is going to say, well, if you're going to do that, you know, we're going to take your money, which puts them in a really interesting situation because it's not their money, it's customer funds. Okay. So it's kind of like an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. And there are going to be serious implications, historical implications, you know, that arise from these things kind of colliding.
It reminds me of the Bitcoin fork, where there was just so much uncertainty, and it was like, well, we've never seen this, and what if the miners go here, and it's all Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin, you know, legacy dies. I mean, you can look back and say, oh, it was obviously not going to happen, but there was real fear in that market in that mid-July swing. It dropped, whatever it was, 40% or something into that. And this kind of reminds me of that. So I guess the question I have right now when I look at this chart, because I do own Ethereum and I am bullish on it through this merge, probably because I've been drinking the Arthur Kool-Aid and reading and enjoying his essays. But I could ask myself, how do we get through this uncertainty with like bullish price action? Because uncertainty is the death of speculation.
Well, even all of that, if all the news is out, we know all the details and what the effects are. Like, isn't it priced into the market?
Well, it's the uncertainty, right?
Aren't we selling the news at this point?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. And that.
But if everybody is selling the news, then
it should be bullish, right? No,
then is it bullish? And then like that's where I'm at right now. You know, one of the really interesting things I've observed, you know, when it comes to majors, at least over the past week, is the flows have changed a bit. You know, we're actually looking at NASDAQ and S&P 500 being like pretty ridiculously fucking bullish right here. Like I think more so than people thought. If you look at the NASDAQ, it's already broken out. If you look at the S&P 500, you know, it's right there up against that diagonal. But these things were still pushing to the upside while Bitcoin and Ethereum were starting to bleed a bit. Which for me was really interesting, you know, because on this upward move, they kind of regained this really strong correlation. So is it one of these situations where are they decoupling actually, or in many cases is, you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum kind of front running some kind of corrective move in NASDAQ and S&P? Or are we potentially like, the market makers, the guys that are providing the liquidity that enables an upward move? Are these guys saying, hey, we're going to kind of, take our foot off the gas pedal until the S&P, has that actual breakout and isn't at this resistance point, because they're just kind of, they don't want to be the exit liquidity. You're kind of, playing with fire at that point, aren't you?
Yep. I think it's been a very, it's probably the last 6 weeks, and this is talking to some of my traditional finance buddies who are making markets and those derivatives. The last 4 to 6 weeks have been a major slowdown relative to before that. I think we are in the dog days of summer. Like the Europeans are on vacation. In the US, it's like, the third week of August. I think this is a true low volume, low interest chop. And no matter, there's games being played. I mean, there were games played the other morning where someone decided to run stops up to like close to 24.5 in Bitcoin, like kind of on an impulse, and then sold it off. Like you can tell this to me is like summer doldrum chop, and just be ready for, I think, the kind of post Labor Day, first week of September type of action. And it might not come back with a bang. I think the reason it's going to come back with a bang in crypto is because of the merge upcoming. So I think the first week of September into September, we're going to see some volume because it's fun. This is a death chop.
We've been saying it for weeks on the show, like, and on the other show, and just in general, like, this market is mature. The things that you're saying, it's just signs of like a maturing market. Having summer doldrums, like we said at the beginning of the summer, maybe we get some retracement back to some resistance points, and then start feeling the effects of a summer doldrum where everyone's like, fuck it, I'm going on vacation. And look, I just took a week and a half off for the first time in a long fucking time. So like this market's not going anywhere right now. Rob's absolutely right. And the fact that you see professional trading firms that are saying like, hey, we're just gonna be locked in this summer doldrum, it's what a mature market is. It's pretty impressive. And you're gonna, like, you'll see volatility start to collapse, and then sometime in the fall, the market will pick it. The pendulum will start swinging, and they'll start pushing levels, and then you start to get those reflexive moves up or down. And I think that's very, very probable as to what's happening right now.
This is all kind of coming together as you guys are discussing this, getting into September. I don't think I've ever remember a September that was overtly bullish in crypto. They've always been painful, right? And it's this kind of like Green Day, wake me up when September ends vibe every year. This year, we've got this merge. We've got this growing uncertainty. We've got bearish divergences. We've got bear volume starting to pick up. And then we've got September coming. And with me going away on vacation next week with no Wi-Fi, I'm starting to get like, maybe I want to park a little bit of stability back, neutralize some of my volatility going into that, because it does seem like there's a lot of stars aligning around like a September retracement. And here's the good news for anyone who's like, oh man, I hate bearish thoughts. If you go to say a weekly, and we were actually talking about this live yesterday on the show. Well, I say we, it was just myself, but the audience was there. We were discussing this, and this idea that, big reversals in markets typically comes in M's. They come in M's and W's. And we don't have a W yet. And so any kind of dip into something like this, and then, whatever comes after, we're going to get bullish after that. There's your W. That's the longer, higher time frame sort of confirmation that this bear is over. So I'm not entirely concerned with that dip unless I'm riding it like, fully long and getting rinsed. So just some thoughts, because it would be totally normal and still bullish to pull back and retest.
I think the lows are in.
Yeah, the lows are in. I totally agree with that. It would be really hard to press lower than that without some major thing. I mean, we just liquidated 3 arrows. So that I 100% agree with. I guess the point is, if we do fall into this, there's going to be a lot of talk of new lows, and I'm not going to be eating that. I'm not going to be buying that shit.
It's going to be painful to be on Twitter while people are doing that. It's going to be painful to have conviction that the lows are in when everybody especially all the people that missed the entire, bear market rally, whatever you want to call it. They didn't make any fucking money, but every single day they came to Twitter to warn you that Bitcoin and Ethereum was going to go to zero while they missed out on an opportunity to make it all back, right? Kind of funny shit. There's plenty of people that have done that, and it's actually really sad to witness, because they sold the bottom, they're down bad, they're just begging for this market to come back down, because the pain of missing upside, in my opinion, is even worse than actually getting wrecked on the way down. Just my 2 cents. For me, as a perma bull, that's the worst fucking thing ever.
Because you already have that long conviction, so missing it hurts more than just being wrong.
It's terrible. I think everybody has this innate bullish bias, because that's like kind of the dream. If Ethereum does pull back, I'm looking like at 1,500, something like that. Personally, 1,400. Right. I think that would be a sweet.
That's
entry.
The PCZ, baby. Yep. So that's your aggressive entry for sure. If we're just like, hey, the merge is super bullish, and there we go. Through September. Oh my god, and then and then you have your very cute sort of weekly W higher low. That would be my first choice as well. Something that's a little bit more typical of bear markets would be something even grosser, right down to this trend line into this kind of reload zone that aligns pretty nicely with a big node on the VPVR at 1250. And that's where the stop losses of all those 1,500 guys would be, right? Because at that 1250, you're looking at new lows. You're like, oh my God, sell everything. We're going to 500. So in a weird, gross, poetic way, I think that's very possible too. I think those are the two options. But there's already guys talking about 500. And there's like, serious analysis being presented. I'm not talking about like big, like names everywhere right now. But there's analysis out there right now that's talking about ridiculous bear market stuff still. So just be careful if we do roll down here at all in the next month and a half. Just have your convictions, have your decisions as much as your plan, made. Because if you start looking for answers through that, you're going to find a lot of ridiculous.
There's going to be some gems, I think, popping up though in the fall too. Like, of
course.
Oh yeah. No, that's like the point is, if you're bullish on this market through 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, whatever, this dip, if it comes through this kind of level, is generational opportunity. As far as like risking to those lows, obviously you can't guarantee those lows don't break. I really don't think they will. But if that's the higher low of an entire bear market, I mean, everything's
can you
a fire
pull up
sale.
that 20 period weekly RSI, sir?
20 period weekly RSI, yeah. Oh, that I can. There's your 200. Let's switch it to 20.
I think the RSI is a really reliable indicator. It's really interesting. There's
RSI.
Been a lot of yes. There's been a lot of research and data analysis, and out of all of the indicators, because remember, indicators are lagging. Okay, they tell you more about what's already happened. They can't predict the future, but out of all the indicators, the RSI actually does have some predictive quality. So if you actually draw the trend line on that 20 period weekly RSI, and of course this could be a fake out, I think that the outcome of that is really interesting here.
Oh, so you switched it to 20 because the default is 14. I've never actually done that.
You've always used 20, and that's where I got that from. And that's why I've been using it.
Are you thinking about this Bollinger Band that I tie onto it? The BB20? I don't know. Do I use 20?
And
you use the 20 period.
every decade of trading, I still don't.
Man doesn't even know what he uses.
It actually looks the same. Yeah, okay. It's 1420, but either way, I see what you're talking about here. We've got this little poking head out. Yeah, I love that. Oh, I love that.
We've broken out. It's really interesting, and it's something that I don't think many people are talking about. That said, like this could very well be a bull trap. And if this were to break back down there, that would be indicative of that. Also another thing though, I'm like still bullish as a motherfucker. I really still think that at some point before the actual date of the merge, that we're going to see some anus shredding. Like we're going to be ripping to the upside. I'm still liking like 2,400, 2,500. I think it's going to happen, and it's all going to come at a break of where we're at right now, like this kind of 2,000 level. And here's kind of the scary thing right now, especially when you're trying to balance risk reward. This upside is going to happen in a matter of maybe one day. And then we're going to chop around, probably distribute, sell into the news or whatever. into the merge. And, you know, as all of you guys have said, September is not a historically bullish month for crypto. You know, people come back.
Terrible month.
Labor Day, and look at last year. You know, we had that amazing rally off the lows, you know, and I was all bearish and shit. And then we go up, and September happened. The entire fucking month was bearish, you know, to the downside, you know, and people once again started talking, hey, you know, we're going to go to fucking 15K, 10K, blah, blah, blah. So it's very difficult to maintain conviction during that kind of noise. But I don't think we're necessarily done here. You know, especially we get that S&P breaking out, you know, sometime in the next week. Like, you're going to see Ethereum is going to teleport to the upside. And if you're not exposed to the market, you're going to miss the move. So
I'll tell you what, look at this.
Because, you know, go ahead.
Look at this ETH BTC chart. I mean, that for me is where you get this kind of idea that I totally agree with you about the teleportation. If we break, and we were talking about this again yesterday, I did a like solo stream here with some charts. If this thing breaks out of this range, it's been a year and a half just sideways pretty much. Whereas Bitcoin, if it breaks to the upside, there's your teleportation.
I mean, teleport, instantaneous, boom,
massive. I mean, day after day, it'll just be pressing into the sky. This chart will be if it breaks out from here, or could be. And it's the USD really that is the question mark. But I agree, 2,500 is on my radar. Right up here, I think that's the most obvious and biggest level everyone's watching for like a pre or post merge target. Yeah. And it's right in the inverse pump chaser zone, the dump chaser zone.
How amazing would that be though if we did have this kind of upside teleport and then we established a range, you know, in between those two pink zones that you have on the chart. Like that for me, that's when you're gonna see like some alt season type, you know, high beta, like, you know, time to make it all back type shit.
And we speculated on that down here during this, you know. Would this bear market play out differently? Is there more adoption and all this stuff to help drive it? And then this was really just like a liquidation event of a lot of large players. And then it kind of gets, you know, through history, we look back at it and then we just kind of finish the bear market up here, which is frankly, I think what a lot of us expected, right? Before that breakdown of 20K on Bitcoin, 27K, whatever it was, or what was it, 40? I haven't looked at Bitcoin in like a month. But point being, like this just being an anomaly caused by 3-hour liquidation cascade and the contagion. And you know,
I don't think it was an anomaly as much as it like needed to happen.
Like a flush out, like a shakeout. Right. But it's like, could we?
That is a perfect, you know, mega event that should put a bottom in, and then maybe a retest, like you said, like those M's and like having M's and W's is very common for bottoms, and maybe even like I've often seen it swipe lows and wick from those lows, and then like and then it just catapults. I kind of think, honestly, is all things being equal, if like you get above somewhere around like 2,100, I don't think you're ever seeing below 2,000 again for a long time. It'll be one of those things where people's bids are just going to get moved up and never hit until the wrong time. But
I had a fun thought yesterday, thinking back to the NASDAQ. You know, you had your 2000 bubble, right? Or whatever you want to call it, the .com boom. And if you look, you were there for it, trading actively, and we had that big blow up. We had sort of a very crypto-esque bear market through that, and some pretty telltale signs of like continuation. Oh, okay, we're going to break out. But like since that time, there was sort of a threshold it crossed where every bear market just got deleted, and then it was off to new highs. Then big bear, and then off to new highs. Does crypto, in its evolution here, as it gets closer correlated to all these markets, perhaps take on that shape and get rid of these epic, long 4-year cycles? I mean, thinking mostly about the majors, Ethereum, not every little cycle. Literally that. I mean, this NASDAQ is a super cycle. Yeah. It drives me crazy because you guys know I love my short reload zones and I love to play these ups and downs. And this thing just goes up forever. It ignores everything. And it actually looks like it's about to kind of continue and do its melt up. Does crypto, now that they're a lot more evolved, the players are a little more similar? Rob, you're smiling. Is this too hopium? Is it possible? What do you think?
It's going to make the NASDAQ look like a test pump.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to go so bananas over time. I mean, you're looking at a long-term chart there. Over time, it's going to do the same magical things that NASDAQ chart does for your innards. I mean, it's going to be, that's my opinion. I really do. Yeah.
The ultimate irony
Listen,
is Sue getting liquidated at the bottom of the super cycle.
The super cycle, yeah.
The super cycle.
I think it's less likely, less improbable, so more likely than people would like to admit. I mean, I feel like we're coming in with all this, like, you know, intense, like, I know how this is going to play out because I was at the last bear market. I'm just going to get it perfectly, and we're just going to buy this, like, you know, $800, $500 Ethereum. I don't buy it, and I don't know how it's going to play out, but I'm getting closer. Like, I thought this last night, I was like, maybe we are headed into, like, okay, this shit's here to stay. It's an established asset class. It's global. The big players have put their cards in, you know, put their hands in, and it's just going to grow. And it's just going to grow.
Dollar, strength or weakness of the dollar. Like, it's just it's a high growth tech asset.
I mean, it's played out a lot like the NASDAQ so far.
Like the NASDAQ.
Let's see what happens with Ethereum's emission. Let's see it become somewhat deflationary. Let's see what the rewards are for 32 Ethereum staking nodes. Let's see. Math could get pretty compelling. And that's what I think Arthur Hayes is really pounding the table. He's making a bet that the math is going to rule all, that it's going to be so black and white clear that the numbers make sense that you can't afford not to own it. That's the vibe I'm getting. Listen, it could be. That's the vibe. And if it lines up like that, and it is somewhat disinflationary, and it has just fees, and look out then.
Well, I mean, remember, we had this whole meme about, you know, Michael Saylor and this institutional interest in Bitcoin. These guys don't want to put fucking Bitcoin on the balance sheet. You know, Michael Saylor had a conference, and I remember I was bullish on this. I thought, you know, Michael Saylor has got to be one of the greatest salesmen on the face of the earth. And I thought this fucking guy was going to get 100 corporations in the room with him and talk them into buying some Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheet. He didn't talk one person into doing it. It's because it doesn't make sense, you know. But what does everybody want? Everybody wants income. Everybody wants this passive income. So when we're talking about an asset that corporations may want to carry in their balance sheets, we're talking about Ethereum. We're talking about something that generates a return. You know, every fucking year it generates a turn. It's printing more. So I do think we had, you know, that was kind of like the final boss for Bitcoin, right? That was always the dream. Corporations are going to come in and they're going to pump their back.
But it's different, Dan. Yeah. It is a different use case. Bitcoin will remain the most secure proof of work network, the most decentralized. Like, it serves a different purpose in your balance sheet. It does. It serves a different
proof of work
purpose.
Is going to be illegal.
No, it will not be illegal. I mean, that's
will. Just wait.
Are you talking about Vitalik? Actually, I just saw that. He says, reminder, I oppose banning POW. Is that what? Is there a conversation going on here?
There's the conversation starting, but let me tell you, you know, what's been going on forever, and that is a worldwide move to a greener future. Yeah. And these people have a lot of say and have a lot of power. And look, whether it's true or not, because actually it's not true, right? The data shows that Bitcoin mostly uses clean energy and inspires the creation of renewable energy and all that kind of shit. Yeah. It doesn't fucking matter. These hippies don't look at the facts. They look at, oh my God, POW is destroying the earth. It's so irresponsible. Look at how much energy it uses. And that's going to be a huge talking point in the near future. There's already some, I think the UK is already moving to ban POW. China, just wait, everybody.
Wise, do you remember, think about the old exchanges and banks and these big companies who had to pay for so many people to travel into work, come do paperwork, do all this stuff, the lights on every day for huge offices. The innovation that's going on with some of this technology is reducing energy needs from very inefficient parties, like dramatically.
But Rob, back in those days, you know, energy was cheap and it wasn't a concern. You know, as we move into, you know, an evolved society, like this is becoming something at the forefront. And Greta is going to have her day, and POW is going to get banned. It just is.
No chance it gets banned. I mean,
you've been spending too much time around the NFT crowd with your Sudoswap.
Those NFTs have rotted my brain, haven't they?
In every single product they eat have refined sugar in it because the sugar cartel is what, and why they tell you milk is good for you. It's the same shit. It's a lobby that's driving the politics of this.
Yeah.
That's
Hell no.
it.
Okay, you know what then?
No. I'm telling you.
You know what?
Get that on.
I'll put on the clown nose then.
I got no
I'm
props.
the
Damn it.
undercover guy
I'll
here.
put on the clown nose, but you know what? When I'm right, I'm mailing this clown nose to you, and you're gonna wear
my
it
God.
for an episode.
We definitely have a name for your daughter, your future daughter. We're going Greta. For sure. Is that number one on the list?
Messiah.
Holy cow. Dude, it's like telling the whole Middle East, like, and Russia, like, stop pumping oil. We're not going to let you guys pump oil anymore. Like, oil is
we need
causing
that.
all our...
We need that, so we're not going to say it. You know, these guys, they don't need Bitcoin.
We don't. It's an efficient market. The renewables, everything. It's a big market, and efficiencies are going to be found. And there's even Bitcoin with innovation, like it probably won't need to use fossil type of fuel in the future, so it's going to be irrelevant.
I mean, no, it doesn't. It already doesn't. Like there's actually data that shows that Bitcoin is a massive consumer of clean energy technologies and a massive catalyst for the development and production of clean energy technologies that are then used elsewhere. It is a method to store energy. It is a method to kind of do things with excess energy, you know, when there's excess in the grid. But at the same time, what I'm saying is none of that fucking matters because these people don't look at the facts. Okay. They look at what's easy to get, you know, the collective conscious of humanity wojacking hard as fuck. And that is that Bitcoin is consuming a lot of electricity and it's destroying our earth and we have to do something right now.
Data will come around, though. I'm kind of with Rob here. I got to side with, you know, mid-long term, the data just coming out. The thing with mining, I mean, it's an insanely intensive, energy-intensive thing. But the bottom line is profit. And so there's this massive incentive from very deep-pocketed entities to align that profit with renewable, clean, cheap energy. And I think eventually, hopefully, there's a carpet ban, hopefully, you know, they develop some of this stuff and clean it up.
There's no ban.
The jury's out.
No ban.
Rob, you heard it here first. There's no ban.
Well, then great. Then hedge your long Bitcoin with long Ethereum. You know, I mean, like, geez, it's like that would be just outrageous. I don't think it's going to end up happening at all. And anyway, I mean, I think like Paul Tudor Jones said, betting on Bitcoin and crypto is like a bet on human ingenuity. They'll figure out the way to get around the ignorant, like, you know, ESG thumpers. It's not.
Maybe there's a ban on dirty mining, right? Mining with coal, banned. Mining with anything but clean renewables, banned. We could have a happy ending. We could have a half and half. But right now, mining is associated with like coal plants in China, even though they've banned mining.
I've got a question, just like hypothetical. I mean, let's say we've got growing third world countries, right? You've got growth that's happening in Africa where there is no, the utilities, the electricity isn't running. Are you going to tell like growing third world countries that, no, you can't use diesel fuel or oil to build your society up to, you know, levels where you're enjoying the things that others are enjoying? Is that okay to do?
I mean, they're trying to do that in Brazil with the Amazon, right? We get cringy when we think about one football field per second being cut down in the Amazon, but it's like, well, they're trying to develop their shit. And how do you, you know, is the Amazon the lungs of everyone else's country? Like, how do you, it's a really tricky.
Look, I don't think the Western narrative, even though it should, I don't think anybody really gives a fuck about those countries, you know, like, or how anything affects them. Like, if you look at the IMF and like the nasty, like debt slavery that, you know, they're pushing these nations into, who was it that defaulted on their debt, you know, because the dollar was so strong? Like, these people are in a terrible fucking position, and I don't think Western civilization, you know, it's sad that it's not, but I don't think Western civilization really gives a fuck. You know, it's kind of a self-centered mindset.
Sri Lanka, South Asian country of Sri Lanka, defaulted on its debt for the first time.
Yeah.
They're not taking away our proof of work. There's not a chance. No way. I'm telling you, there's no fucking chance. I don't think, but that'd be insane.
Yeah, I don't think we'd get a full blanket ban. It seems like it would just be a little weird. I mean, first of all, when's the last time the entire world agreed on any one thing, country to country, right? China could ban it, and then what happened?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
U.S. could ban it, and then what happened?
Dude, that's already. I mean, the China thing's done.
Yeah.
It's like, but let's look through. Remember, I mean, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, we talked about that big VPVR vacuum. I'd like to see how that looks now, because we have spent a good amount of time chopping around in like what looked like a gaping hole.
Yeah.
Gaping.
Yeah, well,
gaping.
Uh,
Isn't this like a PG-13 show? Like...
What are you talking about? Is it,
so look,
well,
guilty as charged.
the other word that came to mind was a gap, which is it's like.
So look, you can actually
it
look. Let's replay it. We'll use the replay feature as we came down. So let's watch it. I don't know how the VPVR.
This is ETH though. Let's go to give me Bitcoin.
Well, Bitcoin's not even there yet, but yes, it's on its way. But let's see. So the
All right.
VPVR here, we're going to watch closely, and we can actually speed that up because this is live.
Yeah, this one ETH has
It did fill
performed
in.
better. It's a different posture. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make this brighter. I don't think I know how right now.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, there was a empty vacuum here. But point is, the thesis that it would fill in actually did play out on Ethereum. I don't think it's done filling in, which is part of like you could make the argument that we need to range here a little longer. But
well, you want it to fill, at least create a base that it's sitting above. Like you fill in volume down there, and at least like get the base to looks like.
I mean, this is the gap. This is the gap remaining that a lot of people are going to look to and say, "Hey, this is where we need to kind of end the bear market on a higher low at 1,300," which aligns with some levels I like. But let's look at Bitcoin. I did take a hard I took a hard transition like away from like charting Bitcoin for the last while now, actually. So glad we're going back today.
Yeah.
But let's have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's chugging away. Then there's still that remaining gap above. You can see here. I mean, there was just almost no volume traded here. It was just like rug pull. It's like the market maker said, "Okay, we're just backing the fuck out of here until we get to 20K."
Yeah.
So and it's actually filling in a lot nicer than ETH because it's moving slow. Is that your point? Or your thinking?
It was. I think it's going to look pretty good once we do end up moving up. I think we're putting in a nice base there, like in terms of volume profile. Maybe I'm hoping on as along, but it feels that way. You know, like this chop over the last 2 months down here, it's putting in some more thickness to the volume profile. But and there's still kind of that gap above. So
it seems pretty much a foregone conclusion. This will fill in someday for anyone who's like, it's never going above 25. Like, good luck with that thesis. It's just reflexivity. But just be careful. I love the look of this volume. It's like, oh my God, bear market's over. But that's actually Binance turning on the feeless spot trading for Bitcoin. So it's not apparent on any other exchange's chart. So I had to just put that little disclaimer out for anyone who's like, holy shit, that's bottom volume.
So go to Coinbase then. Let's see, because we know they charge fees.
the most fees, let's see. And we did actually just get back above the 200, which is interesting. I know that's like that 200 weekly is a big sort of long-term, look at that. For bear markets, they love that 200. So trading back above it, that little deviation below, suddenly looking lonely and all but forgotten.
Is that the bear trap?
Totally.
Looking just trap. Potentially.
Yeah. When you look back at stuff like that, longer term, just say we go sideways and up from here, like that's like, holy shit, that was just this 5-week bear trap.
We were gonna say those are the 8,000 callers, the 10,000 Bitcoin callers right there, like that little trap potentially. Every bull out there hopes that is a trap when we look back.
It's actually incredible, Coinfessions being one place you see this stuff, but how many people actually did kind of get their shit together and learn how to short right down there and go for it and like really short and just sell all their shit and say, okay, everybody's on board this train. We're all decided, okay, we're going to go down here. I mean, the market's just, it's uncanny how they have this way of just getting the most people offside most of the time.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
But,
fascinating.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, the thing that stands out on the weeklies there are just the capitulation volume candles there. I mean, those are look at they're like twice the size of I mean, they're like probably almost 3 times the size of the average for the preceding how many months. I mean, those are big.
Yeah, monstrous.
And this is spot, Coinbase, full fee, you know.
And the last time you had those volume bars, because we have seen them before, right? The coming off of the 2017 bear, the bottom of the 2018, like the whole last bear market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this was actually like kind of the peak FOMO mania through that mid sort of bull through there, that little echo. As you would say, Rob, this probably had a lot of buying in it because it was kind of like an uptrend that peaked there. But anyways, and then you had the COVID capitulation, which we know marked the ultimate low. We had the summer, right, nuke that essentially marked the low, and then now we have kind of 2 of those. So there's a lot of reason to believe that the probability that was the ultimate low of whatever this bear market will turn out to be is like 90% plus, that was the low. Yeah,
I mean, these freak lows, though, like we rally hard off those without like putting in massive, like big buy volume, you know, like you look, it was pretty orderly buy volume rallying off it. So,
well, and I think that's the tame nature of, you know, this kind of macro picture that we're dealing with right now. It's kind of tamed the bulls. They're not in a rush to call that bottom. Yeah. You know, S&P, everything else just kind of like toting along. Now, I saw this, I pulled this up earlier. I saw an interesting tweet. Now, make of it what you will. It's all capitals. I never trust that shit. But it's this indicator that basically says any time in history the S&P has retraced up to a 50, you know, retracement, it has never, you know, continued lower. It's always marked the end of that down move. And it shows some data here that you can probably go back and check. So I checked that out. And that's why this was on my chart. So here's the 50. So it's basically saying any time in history there was a down move, if price ever came back up and took back 50% of that whole down move, that was the end of that bear and it never went back down. 2 new lows, right? It could probably still go here. And so that's an interesting stat. You know, but I also heard that anytime there was ever a bear market, it never only went this low. So there's like, we're rocking a hard place on things that have never happened right now. But the TradFi guys I know are all thinking that this is ready to just do its thing and melt back up and get everybody offside and make everybody buy back. And there's your push to new highs. And then we just print money. And so we'll see.
No, I mean, we've got a healthy 2-way battle going on. There's a lot of people who, you know, are just as negative as it gets, saying we're fucked and the Fed's going to do this and that. I don't know. I mean,
it feels like, as somebody who is an absolute macro imbecile, it does feel like we're fucked, right? As somebody who's been trading parabolic charts for a long time, you look at that shit from, you know, early 2000, like when it took off after 2008, it looks like we are fucked. Like it's that kind of mentality, but at the same time, you know, you look at a parabolic uptrend, okay? Look at Bitcoin when it's going up. Every single dip feels like you're fucked because it's just so fucking crazy. It's gone up so much. At some point, and I don't know when, we are fucked. It might be next year. It might be 3 years from now. It might be 4 years from now.
How?
But that chart screams we are going to get fucking spanked at some point, to me at least. But maybe, you know, this is a new paradigm with quantitative easing, and, you know, all the middle class is going to be evaporated, you know, and we're just on this new level where we're going to have the haves and the have-nots, and like that. Maybe that's what's happening from a pure chart perspective, though. Holy shit! Like, that's ridiculous.
This is the M2, right? So and I know a lot of people remember, Rob, on our old idea, they said, well, that's not a pure representation of inflation. But if you factor in money supply to the prices on the S&P, this is actually a more, what I think, perhaps realistic picture. And that is that we haven't really created value in a long time. that it's been a bit of a parlor trick of Fugazi. Now, I'm not the guy to say I know exactly the dynamics between M2 money supply, but I love this chart. I love this chart. I mean, to sweep the highs and then go into a COVID crash after the 2008 crash, and it all just seems like, who's watching this chart? Who's trading this? I don't know.
Yeah, no one.
No,
but but each of them are getting traded independently, and there's a lot of eyeballs on it. But it is I am all about. I told you it was a few weeks ago. We talked about how I felt that Chairman Powell was like massaging us that afternoon, and we just like got loosened up because he turned a little dovish and he's just working his magic. I think like they're working their magic right now. We're like, it's a soft landing is what they're cooking up, and he's just stirring it and putting in all the ingredients, and they're going to do what they need to do, I believe, to not let this thing completely fall apart. And why would they? I mean, I don't know. That's my gut.
They can't let it fall apart. Aside from it being their own pension and future and the part of their life they've worked hardest for to enjoy, like they just the whole fucking thing collapses if they don't borrow more, if they don't print more, like if they don't follow down this path, everything dies.
It would
be. How do you pivot out of that?
It would be because they lose faith in their ability to talk the market and to talk the market into what, and then at that point, then you really want to own Bitcoin and I guess Ethereum as your long hedge, because Bitcoin could potentially be banned from not using any energy, but we'll see. I think that's when thick
with what do you call that? Sarcasm?
Yeah.
No,
I don't even know. No, but I mean, I think
what's the word?
Yeah, that's
God,
why
I'm missing the word. Anyways. All right. Well, look, we are at that sweet 1 hour spot. I don't know how you guys are doing. We didn't really discuss pre-show. Sometimes we just go 2 hours and say, fuck it. Sometimes we actually have things to do. So if any of you guys have to duck out, give me the heads up now. Just like wink and like do a little hand signal and I'll sneak you out of here. Okay. Gunny's got a lunch date. All right. But let's take a look at things like the Dixie. Let's just wrap up here. Couple final thoughts here. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we've got the Dixie pushing new highs. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys got? Final questions in the chat? Lido?
It's the best. The Dixie's the best. Dollar's the best shitcoin in the fiat casino, and it's it's punishing some others. I really don't. I don't really care. I think in the end, crypto and Bitcoin they're gonna be able to rally even if the Dixie rallies. Because everyone else needs this sort of hedge and this sort of store of value. But dollar's strong. I mean, dollar is strong. That's
it's really interesting, Rob. While inflation may have peaked already, in stateside in the United States, we're continuing to see this awful data, come out of Europe. So I mean, I don't know fucking anything about Forex, and foreign exchange markets, but do you think that at some point, like they're going to be able to get their shit under control and that's when you're going to kind of see that dollar strength roll over?
Man, I don't know. I really have no idea when the dollar is going to stop. I think like the dollar does some of the work for the Fed though. Like there's no question. Like the dollar does work for them. That's why Trump he wanted low dollar, because then you didn't really necessarily need to like be more accommodative with rates. Like it does the work for you. So does a strong dollar do the work for the Fed and let them kind of take the foot off? Probably, but then it's like, what is it really doing to everybody else, right? What is it doing to Germany's electricity prices? What is it doing there? So I think they're going to manage the dollar as much as anything else. The problem is if our rates are too high and the dollar is strong, like why would anyone want to hold their stuff in their paper? Like they'd all be piling in, to the U.S., which I think we've seen. But the bottom line is they're gonna. I think the Fed, and this is one thing that crypto does not have. crypto doesn't have central banks all over that can like step in and save the day and massage and put liquidity where it is. We rely on incentives in places to get liquidity to flow there. Like the central banks are doing it. So, you know, I don't really kind of, I'm not concerned about where the dollar goes.
You heard it here first. Rob don't give a fuck about no DXY.
Yeah.
Okay, to put some
especially
spice.
if you buy the right shit.
No, and that's to be fair, that's been your tune since we've ever started, on this show. You've always been kind of like, I don't put too much.
Kind of Richard Hart on us.
Yeah, dude, did you see that podcast? That was, reminded me of high school.
No.
Somebody,
no, it was
didn't
bad.
see
He
it.
dropped an N-bomb in like a group of women.
How is that guy roaming free?
In a group of a mixed group of women.
He may work for the feds. Like, it's unbelievable. He's Teflon. Richard Hart.
He's major Teflon. He's entertaining though. I always watch his shit. So
I do not follow him, but who's his stylist, or is he picking those clothes out?
Richard Hart's style is buying the most unbelievably expensive shit that exists on the face of the earth and wearing it at the same time. Like that's his style. Is that he is wearing the most expensive shit you can buy. Period. And it's all extremely tacky,
Like I know, I'll tell you. I mean, we work with some really fashionable guys, but like their stuff doesn't look like expensive stuff. It's like it is expensive, but it's like
their shit is expensive.
I know, but like you couldn't tell on some of it. I'm like, ooh, nice. But
well. You heard it here, guys. We are all Richard Hart fans. We all secretly watch his stuff. But no, I did. He dropped an N-bomb on some podcast, like in a group of like 10 people, like mixed backgrounds and all that. And so it was interesting that like you didn't just. It's not like a pin drop or anything. But like people say, like he ended the word with A, not ER, so it wasn't hateful. It was like I don't know. It just seems like it didn't even make a splash. It's not. I don't know. That's why I watched it because I was like, really. But then everything he said around it sounded like a 90s rap video, so it's a little attitude coming out. Anyways, not to get distracted by all that noise, the final thought I've got for everybody is keep an eye on ETH BTC, because unless there is some catastrophic protocol level censorship debacle drama bullshit, I don't see a scenario where this doesn't outperform Bitcoin in the next period. And if it breaks these highs, man, it's the first time since really a year and a half ago that we're going to see price discovery. I mean, not price discovery, okay? I spoke too soon, but like a new breakout from a big level. So,
and Messi really thinks he's looking for a real big green dildo somewhere. You're expecting a flash pump, aren't you?
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen fast.
Yeah, like this should break out with a one candle.
Let me say this because a few weeks on the show, or a few weeks ago on the show, I said that having any kind of bearish perspective at that point is silly. And I still like believe that. Okay, a couple of things to note though, and here's how I'm operating. Here's how I'm playing this right now. We are at this resistance level now. Hey, we made it, E2000, right? Hopefully you guys made some money on the way up. Hopefully you had strong conviction. But even though I do think we're going to have this big flash dildo, right, on the way up, I've muted the volatility of my portfolio a little bit here. And what that does is it gives me exposure to that pump if it does happen. But if it doesn't happen and we go to the downside, then I'm not like giving back my fucking gains. It's a way to lock in those gains a little bit. My preferred methods to do that are like things like GLP. You can find it on Arbitrum or Avalanche. GLP is kind of a weighted basket of products. It's interest bearing. You can get about 20% APR on it. It's going to give you exposure to good assets. The GLP composition is a little bit different from Avalanche to Arbitrum, but it's about a 50% cash position. But it's got some Bitcoin in there, some Ethereum in there, a little sprinkling smidgen of DeFi, and it's something to where if we wake up tomorrow and Ethereum's at $1,500, you're not going to fucking hate yourself because it's not going to go down as much as just pure Ethereum, right? So
GLP is actually my only yield bearing position right now.
ETH USDC, another great option. You can do. There's a farm on Aura right now that gives like 8% APR. It's not that great, but it's better than nothing. Pair these things against dollars. And that'll, and think of it though, because people get all tied up in this whole, but aren't you worried about the impermanent loss? Like, you don't know enough about impermanent loss to even say that if you're worried about it. You think about these things not as something with impermanent loss, but you think about it as a new product, a new position entirely, one that has different characteristics than just raw BTC or raw Ethereum. Have a little bit of cash on the side to buy the dip should it occur, but I wouldn't be all cash. I think that's not a great option right now. I think you're kind of getting ahead of yourself, and especially with the merge still, about a month out, some weird shit can happen between now and then. So if you made some gains, lock them in, mute your portfolio volatility, but maintain a little bit of exposure to the upside, have a little bit of cash, have a little bit of Ethereum. And that way you have optionality no matter what happens, and you don't end up hating yourself. Because right now it's kind of a crapshoot. Does it happen? Does it not happen? Do we go down first and then up? Do we go up and then just come straight back down? Like, nobody fucking knows.
I'll tell you this, once it's done and it's in the past, if successful, and if this whole censorship stuff gets sorted out and we see some slashing and then those nodes back off and blah, 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 then it's deflationary and some of those metrics come out, it's got to go up and to the right. Like on the other side of this storm, because there is a storm coming, right? It's going to be volatile. It's going to be uncertain. It's going to be hard to trade. I feel like very strongly that on the other side of it, that's the one thing I feel pretty confident in. So I'll be ready to park capital on the other side that I'm not quite willing to risk going into it, but I definitely have positions. And I think you're right. All in, all out is probably the worst position you can be when you're in a market, because it speaks to a certainty you just don't have, right? You just don't know. So a little bit exposure each way is usually the right answer, some degree of that.
Agreed.
So that's it, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, head over to Blockmates and check out the Hxro Network Degen's Guide to Options, Perps, and Futures with Hxro Network. It's a really well-written guide, as they do. Everything over there that those guys do is well thought out, thorough, easy to understand. They've broken it down like you're 5 years old. I've read through this. It helped me deepen my understanding of options. I have a pretty loose understanding, but this really helped me build that up. So if you guys haven't already, check it out. If you've already been trading perps, like, degenning around, this is definitely something to go step back to and learn a bit more about.
Yeah, those guys have been killing it with their content lately, and
really happy
good
with
guys.
what they've been
I'll
doing.
vouch for that.
great guys.
So with that, I think we'll head back to the studio. I know we all got lunch dates plans. I hit an eagle yesterday. Gunny, dude, 500-yard par 5, smacked it. Three hybrids, smacked it like 30, 40 feet off the edge of the green, and then fucking pitched it in with the 60. Rolled like 6 feet right into the hole. Guys were all screaming.
There
It was
you go.
great. So I'm fired up. I want to go play 9 tag. I'm going to see if I can find a little time to get out, play a little golf. I'm still planning to come play with you guys this season before the winter comes. So with that, everybody, it's been a blast. Messy, good luck getting into fatherhood. Thinking of you, man. Wish you the best.
Thank you, cousin.
Take a leg, man.
And I cannot wait to have you back on here to tell us all of the details when you get back. Maybe just some of the details. Maybe not.
Changing the dirty diaper. Waking
Yeah.
up every 3 hours until she gets her weight back. And
Changing the dirty diaper. How about like pulling the poop out of the butt?
Let's not go there yet.
Wow.
Let's not go
Okay.
there yet.
Guys, we're still live. Okay,
Did you
guys.
just say every 3 hours she wakes up? Good luck.
Good luck.
Dude.
3 hours.
You're telling me that's optimistic?
My kid just turned 1, and I got to say he's been a great
Oh,
sleeper.
God.
We had him almost 8 hours a night from like 3-4 weeks in. So you never know. You might get lucky. All right, guys. Whatever you do from now until next time, always play from a position of strength.